So today we have to talk again about Acend versus G2 because their map on Split was also very interesting, not least for the part that both teams are running Omen. Now, this is the Acend comp. I think this will always be known as the Acend comp because they brought it out in the most important match, the map even, in the entire of last year. You know, World Championships, it's 2-all, it's the last map, and out they come with an Omen, which was very surprising. But of course, with the new patch, we're expecting more and more Omen, so I thought that this would be a good, time to start looking at some of the things that, Omen can do on this map, because you probably will be seeing a lot more of Omen, and so, you might want to take some ideas from this. So, yeah, we've got the mirror comps. If you're wondering why you would ever play this comp on the old patch, because, Astra and Viper are just better, the idea is you want to play Raze and Jet, and particularly for Acend, who, kind of the inventors of this comp, you have a very good Raze player in Zeke, and you have arguably the best Jet player in the world on CNED, and so it makes sense with that. Sage is always pretty decent on this map anyway, just as a start. And so then you don't have a flash if you have these three agents because you want a sentinel as well. So you need a flash, so that's why you bring in Omen, and we're going to see that as well. And then, these four agents don't have any information, so you get the sentinel with the most information, which is a Cypher. And that's the kind of, general feeling behind this comp. I'm sure there's more that Ascend put into it, but that's the basics of it. And so let's take a look at some of these rounds and how Omen is doing. So, Ascend are going to start out really well on the defending side, and one reason is that G2, for the first like 4 or so rounds, basically kept running into Bone Cold here on Omen, and kept losing in different ways. We'd see them lose to like one ways here, Flash we're about to see as well. So let's get into this first round and take a look and see what Bone Cold was able to do on this Omen. He starts out, by the way, as 10-0 on this Omen. So we start out here, you can see they are on a save this time, but again, they are pressuring this B, but here you go, here's the one way that Bone Cold puts up. Now, quite clever from G2 here, what they do. Obviously, they have the one way to try and get past, so what they decide to do is, after a bit of thought, is put down this Cypher Cage here, which obviously kind of negates the one way, right? They can run into that Cypher Cage, and as you can see, the one way is kind of null and void. And then the advantages of this comp, they're going to Sage Wall up here, as you can see. So they're going to put the wall here, kind of in the default position. They have the Jet, can dash in, and then also the Raze can come in and satchel in, and that's what they're going to do. And they're going to explode, right? And Split's quite a hard map to attack, but with this comp, you have a lot of explosion potential, to get onto those sites. But they're going to run into Bone Cold, and of course, what he just did, as we saw there him do, he's going to flash down here, and, this flash is going to pretty much get everyone, and that's going to slow that attack right down, and that's not going to be a good time for G2. And then he's going to do this, so you can see that Nuki is flashed there. They eventually get out of the flash, but Bone Cold gets another one. Zeke helps him out there as well, but then this happens, which I also thought was just pretty cool. It was like the aim transfer was just really quite cool to see. And so Bone Cold gets himself a 4K, and we straight away see some of the advantages of that Omen flash. Very, very good in this position. And so now let's come to round 6. And again, G2 are on a save. It's currently 5-0 to Ascend. They'd been doing very, very well. But finally, G2 are going to get on the board with this round. Now, they've already found one kill here. Nice little Sheriff kill on Kilez there. And so now let's see what they do with the rest of the round. We are with 1 minute and 10 seconds left. And the rotate, as you can see, is coming back towards where the Jet and the Cypher are. So as they come in on this rotate, what we are going to see again is some nice bit of Omen play, and how Omen has improved in this most recent patch. Because what's going to happen is they Cypher Cage up here in main, which is going to allow potentially any cross, and make them wonder whether they have crossed or not. And as you can see, Mixwell is heading towards heaven. And so what's going to happen here, as we're about to see, is a smoke gets thrown out by Bone Cold. But those slow Old Omen smokes cost him. Now, of course, this probably doesn't happen with New Omen. I would bet that that smoke is actually popped and down there and ready before Mixwell maybe gets the chance to get those knives on Bone Cold. But either way, they get control of Heaven. They Sage Wall it off. They put this smoke here as well at the back of Heaven. And so now, they are threatening the site. But whilst this is going on, what I want us to watch is you can just see it here. Avova has teleported. He's used his ult, like right in front of Zeke, okay? And so that's him dying to that ult. But now let's take a look. That's him dying to Zeke on his ult. But now, if we watch, Mixwell has gone, super Jet mode, dashed up, jaffed up here, has gone crazy. And what we're about to see is this blind here come in from a VoD. Obviously, he just seen Zeke had just killed him. So, you know, he knows that where he is. He blinds him with the flash. Again, we see some good use of Omen utility, and that is going to get a free kill for Mixwell, as Zeke obviously can't see. Now, I might actually have misspoke there because G2 did not win that round, but let's come to the very next round. They ended up losing on the retake. They didn't have guns. Their opponents did have guns. They used a res as well, Acend, and managed to win the afterplan. It wasn't that interesting, really. It was just people with guns killing people without guns. So, yeah, anyway, let's take a look at what they do in the very next round, though, because this time they will get on the board. What they're going to do is, again, use this Omen flash. So you can see they have a big group of 4 people in there, and they have Omen in mid, and you can maybe some of you can guess exactly what they're going to try and do, and let's take a look at it. So here we go. They use the cipher cages there. We're going to get, there was some glitching going on with the stream a bit, but as you can see, CNED is here, but he's going to get flashed from this position. So the flash comes in from here. It's going to flash all of that, and CNED is in a bit of trouble. As you can see, as they begin, you know, with those cipher cages as well. If we come back to the map, obviously they have these cipher cages up here, so that's going to allow them to come up here into heaven, and they are going to get aggressive on CNED here after this flash, and we will see that now. So here we go. CNED has to dash away. They do actually have the cipher cam, which catches Mixwell. CNED is able to get a kill, but you know, the panic is still there, and they also wall off. They wall off this, they smoke off this, so they have, you know, quite a bit of heaven control, and now you can see here as well, they're attacking from these 2 directions. And anytime you can attack from 2 directions, it's going to go a lot better for you than just trying to, you know, run it down 1 direction. And you can also just see in here that, you know, VoD has come back, and he's just going to lurk up mid and catch anyone on the cross there, which he will do. So as we run this forward, Mixwell just does not care about this cipher tag, and CNED finds himself in some trouble, and eventually Mixwell's able to get him. At the same time, Hoodie is able to get Killers, who I guess was probably trying to help out swinging out here, and Hoodie is able to kill him over there. And so all of a sudden, you know, they're on the site. It's a 4v3, and they have complete control of the site. And as we run this forward, we are going to see the lurk as Mixwell finally decides to get rid of his the heart that's on him. They get the cipher ult as well, just to confirm where they are. And here's a VoD just mopping up Bone Cold, and from here they win the round pretty comfortably. But as we move forward, you can see we're on round 11 here, and really the only success G2 had was using that Omen tactic that we talked about in Heaven. And so what they went to in round 11 here, after losing a couple of rounds in a row, is they're just going to go straight back to it. If we come to the map, you can see they have the same setup for here, Omen here, Flash here, all good things, right? But Acend have kind of, you know, figured out like, oh, the only thing that's successful for them is this Heaven take on A, and then, you know, attacking A from the site. So instead they put Starkso here on Sage with the idea of walling up. So a nice little adaptation from Acend that, you know, did help them, but ultimately it's not going to help them enough. As you see again, these cipher cages come in, they're going to pop it, they're going to run around, we get the flash up there, pushes them back, Starkso comes out, we do get stuck. Mixwell got tagged by the Stark God knows how many times, but eventually they are going to destroy this wall, and unfortunately for CNED and friends, you know, it's not going to go in their favor as he gets boom botted there. He dies. Again, they put up the same wall to stop any rotations from vents. CNED had already got there with the wall, so it, you know, wasn't the most effective use this time, but they are able to get that kill on CNED, and now it's the same thing, right, where they have the pressure from here, coming in here from Meadow, and they have, you know, these guys in Heaven that could sneak from behind. You know, all these defenders now have to worry about this, they have to worry about this, and they have to worry about this. Like, when you're worrying about 3 different directions, it's not going to be a good time, you know, as a defender, and that is exactly what plays out as we begin to see. As Meadow gets one as well, you see there, Starkso worrying. Again, you get a VoD on that lurk, and at this point, you know, they really could have done anything. They do just decide to attack the site. Eventually, they end up in a 5v1, because that's the way it goes, right? As I mentioned, if you can attack from 3 different sides, where did the defenders look, right? It's the problem that defenders had on Breeze A site for a very, very long time, and, you know, this was when you get that Heaven control on A in Split, you know, the defenders on the A site on Split are in a bit of a pickle. And so now let's come to Ascend's attack. And Ascend had more general success on the attacking side. Anyway, they won the pistol and they were able to convert a couple of rounds from there. But you can see here it's the same setup that G2 used that Ascend are now going to use against them as well. But they're going to do it with a bit of a twist. Again, we're going to get the Omen Flash here. We're going to get the Cypher Cages in here, which are just generally pretty good anyway. And so let's see how they use this to their advantage, and how they run a little twist on it. So if we do come to the map, I probably should have stayed on it. You can see that the Omen Flash was straight away. This time, instead of using this Omen Flash as a kind of way to get into heaven, I think that they were just using it to make sure there was no early aggression here and to push anyone from heaven back into heaven to make sure. And as you can see, here comes the Cypher Cage. We do get the Omen one way from G2, but that is not going to be enough. And we're going to get this explosion onto the site instead of going towards heaven. So you get the dash, you get the paint shells getting in there, and Mixwell trying to play close with that Judge. You know, everything is going crazy, and as I said, that explosive potential of having those double duelists is what's going to get them in onto this site, and it's ultimately what is going to get them, you know, this round win, because they get the res as well, and eventually Avova just has to retreat. And so now they have the site to themselves, and they're going to go and plant the spike. And it's looking pretty good at this point. But I also just want to point out something that happens here, which is also really, really cool. And that is the Sage Wall that they use, where they have, if we go on the map, they have 3 players on this Sage Wall. And you're going to see that that is definitely going to be in their benefit, as these players are able to get quite a few kills. And obviously, if you are over here, your crosshair placement is just going to be wrong. There's no way that's going to be right, but you're also going to see Killers here on the Cypher also use that wall to his advantage, peeking on that angle there that you wouldn't expect, and then they're just going to chase down Meadow and get that final kill as well, and get to 12 rounds. And now quickly, let's just take a look at the very final round as well. So we're in a 4v4 at this point. CNED had got 1 kill, but then been traded out here. So we're in a 4v4 about 30 seconds into the round. So there's 70 seconds left overall, and what we're about to get is this Cypher ult on CNED's body for G2, so that they know where the attacking players are. But a 4v4 always favors the attacking side, particularly if you take it slow, because essentially, you know, most maps are designed with the fact that there's going to be, you know, 5 defenders on the map, and so they're designed with that in mind. But when there's only 4 defenders, it's much harder to defend all of the different ways to get into the map, and so we're going to see that play out right now. Because as you see, there you go, there goes the Cypher ult. Zeke nades it off because he knows where that Cypher probably has to be, but he just misses, and Meadow is able to survive. But now, you know, now they're having a bit of a thing. Now, what you have to remember what G2 saw, right? So G2 saw Sage was here. They obviously had the 2 players in mid, and Cypher was over here. Now, if you are expecting a hit, you're probably expecting that, you know, the team is going to go with the Sage. The Sage is going to wall this, and, you know, maybe one of them comes back here, and one of them attacks heaven, and the Cypher will be on the lurk. That's probably what G2 were expecting, and so you can see that that is how they've reacted. You know, they've brought the Rays on the rotate. They have the Jet and the Cypher here as well. That is pretty much what they expected, and they've left the Omen there on site alone. But for whatever reason, maybe Acend kind of read that's what's likely to happen, or maybe it was just, you know, spur of the moment, their decision. They decide instead to head back towards A. You know, it's basically a 50-50, and they are going to head back towards A. And if we skip this forward a bit, you know, they do break a Cypher trap, but, you know, again, they don't know if that's just a fake. And we end up in this position where, you know, you can see the 3 players from G2 are still pretty far away on that B site, maybe wondering what's going on. Poor of over here is on his lonesome, but this is something that I thought was really cool, is that they'd obviously come through mid, and they had a main control, and so now they're actually gonna go and push CT. And if you're of over at this point, like, you have no chance. He had no idea what a world of trouble he was in for. But here we go. They're actually gonna smoke off CT and walk behind it. If we go to the map, you can see that. So they smoke it off here, and they come and run behind it. And obviously Avova now, as we watch this run forward, he's going to get slowed from this Sage that, you know, just bounced off that wall. So he's thinking like, oh, you know, he knows that there's people in over here, but who he's actually going to die to is Bone Cold, which who has come around from the other side. So he's actually going to die to this, which if we run it through, you'll be able to see what I mean. Just clear that. Yeah, so he dies from Bone Cold over here, who he obviously has no idea that's there, and all of a sudden they're in a 4v3 with the site.